Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahabushai, Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson, and I'm going to start it off with this clip from Yoram, Yah, servant of Yahawashi Instagram page, and the title of it says, Warning, Watch Your Paychecks. And the gist of this clip is going to be this whole situation going on with Iran and threats to the state of the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of global oil travels through. And, you can already see, gas prices have been rising over the events that took place this weekend. And it remains to be seen, the ramifications of this situation and how long it's going to continue, because we know that before, World War III comes to its, conclusion with, nuclear weapons being used between these major nations, the mark of the BEAST, micro C-hip implant, has to be mandatorily implemented. But leading up till then, you're going to see hyperinflation, things becoming unaffordable, people losing their jobs, economic collapses, et cetera, et cetera. And, a strain on the oil supply would be a major thing to lead towards that, because everything in this society runs off of oil. Products and packaging are made from petroleum. These truckers and these different companies that deliver products to stores run off of oil. And as we're also going to see in this clip, major shippers, need that oil to fuel those ships to ship, cargo, across the world. So we're living in some very, beautifully prophetic times. And regardless of how this situation plays out, according to biblical prophecy, all these things, will take place. But this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
You shop at any of these stores. I'm talking about Walmart, Target, Costco, Home Depot, anything retail. Just expect to spend your whole entire paycheck.
And keep that in mind, with the precept we're going to go into later on. Hey, brothers, including myself, have been saying that there's going to come a time due to, the decrease in the value of the U.S. dollar, and hyperinflation, that people are going to be spending damn near their entire paycheck to get a depreciating amount of goods.
Is because the world's second largest shipping company, Maersk, suspended transit through the Strait of Hormuz because of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. Maersk is one of the world's largest integrated logistic companies, and while people often think that it's just an oil tanker or container ship operator, the company actually moves almost every single category of global trade goods. So this means if you go into these stores, make sure you only get what you need. This is not the time to buy useless shit, because if you do, you will go broke. You shop at any of these stores.
Hey, straight to the point. And people, your average American citizen already is, really budgeting out here, on top of working 2 to 3 jobs and already having to sacrifice between am I going to pay for gas to get to the job today? Or am I going to, eat lunch? Am I going to skip paying this bill, the internet bill, to pay my light bill, et cetera, et cetera? So this situation is just going to further strain, already strained populace and system. And then also, you've had refineries, oil refineries in Qatar, and I believe Saudi Arabia shutting down operations due to this military situation going on over there between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. But as this guy just said, expect to spend your entire paycheck to buy goods, which brings us to Revelation chapter 6. I'm going to start at verse 5. And this is dealing with the so-called four horsemen of the apocalypse, which are just symbolic of things that would be taking place in the last days, which we're currently living in, really the last seconds of the last days. And I like how the header says the third seal, famine, because if, oil and gas prices get too high, what? You're going to see job losses. You're going to see, businesses shut down. And you're going to see what? These freighter and truckers not bringing goods to stores, which would lead to what? Emptier store shelves, leading to what? Desperation out here, already on top of high prices. And that's going to lead to, people starting to take matters into their own hands, breaking into people's houses, ransacking stores, etc., etc. As it says in 2 Esdras chapter 15, verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor and shall destroy their houses with the force of the sword. And your modern day sword is the gun. And it says, due to the lack of bread, shortages, famines out here, and for great tribulation. But Revelation 6, verse 5, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. See thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when we go to that word penny in the Strongs, it's G1220, denarion, which in the outline of biblical usage says a Roman silver coin in New Testament time. It was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire. And America is Rome, reborn. So your modern day denarion or denarius would be what? That US dollar, which we see is quickly, losing its value. The government just continues to do deficit spending and printing ad infinitum, lowering the value. And due to Trump's recent actions, from the tariffs and the trade wars to these different military operations, you've got more and more nations, not buying treasury bonds and sending back dollars, further, decreasing the value of the dollar. From the parable of the vineyard, from the parable of the laborers in the vineyard, it would seem that a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages, because in the ancient world, and especially according to our law, a man was paid for the work he did that same day he worked. It's not like now, where the majority of people get paid every 2 weeks or so. So what? A measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny, spending damn near your entire paycheck to buy a decreasing amount of goods, or, to buy, goods at an inflated price, whether it be due to the devaluation of the dollar, inflation, or what? A oil crisis, causing these different companies to have to raise prices because, for them to get that oil and gas, it's at a heightened price, so they pass it on to the consumer. And as that guy said in that clip, and, as I said earlier, if this situation continues at the, the pace it's continuing, which, you've got a lot of pundits saying that, we haven't seen anything yet. It always takes a couple of days for the effects of things to show. So if there's further strain and tensions at the Strait of Hormuz and, those refineries stay closed, that's going to lead to prices going up, leading to what? As that guy said in that clip, you had one of the second major, shipping companies, Maersk, saying that they're going to, cease operations for a time because everything's unstable and the prices are going up. So what are you going to see? Work dry up, businesses having to lay off people because the prices are going up, even businesses shutting down, the economy just straining, which when we go to Isaiah chapter 19, it's speaking of Egypt, but know that it's speaking of spiritual Egypt or America. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 4. And the Egyptians, the Americans, will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts. And with the way, Nero 47 has been moving, and we're just in the beginning of the third month of his second presidency, he's moving like a cruel Lord and a fierce king. From economic turmoil to military turmoil, everything he's doing is just further, alienating the United States of America and putting it in a worse economic and military position, and further putting a strain on the average American citizen. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up. And when you think of ancient Egypt, what was their main source of economic, activity? The Nile River. So think about it today, the waters failing and the rivers and seas drying up, economic activity drying up. Because what is America also known as? The number one importing nation on the face of the earth. You've got the East Coast and the West Coast, which is constantly having freight and cargo coming in. And they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up. The reeds and the flags shall wither. The paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. The fishers also shall mourn, and all they that cast the angle into the brooks shall lament, and they that spread nets upon the waters shall languish. These businesses that rely on, freight and cargo coming in from outside the country. If the prices, for oil and gas continue to go up, you're going to see a strain on that. They're going to have to raise prices to the consumer. And if they can't keep up, they're going to go out of business. Everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. The fishers also shall mourn. Moreover, they that work in fine flax, they that weave networks, shall be confounded, and they shall be broken in the purposes thereof, all that make sluices and ponds for fish. And, it's not just oil being used for the shipping of goods. Oil is petroleum is used to what? Make packaging, make products, make clothing, etc., etc. It's all a vicious circle. And they shall be broken in the purposes thereof, all that make sluices and ponds for fish. Verse 11, surely the princes of Zoan are fools. The counsel of the wise counselors of Pharaoh is become brutish. And we can clearly see this with this current situation with Iran. From the information coming out, it seems that Trump and his administration thought that this would be a quick in and out situation. All they had to do was take out Khomeini, and then, the Iranians would come to the table. But as we can clearly see, the Iranians aren't in the mood for a ceasefire, and things are ramping up. And, the situation is quickly spiraling out of control. And, this move is showing that where was I at? Verse 11, we can see that the counselors of Pharaohs become brutish, instead of diplomacy, which, America always had the sword behind their diplomacy in the past, but especially with Nero 47's administration, they're just straight up coming with the sword saying, look, it's either our way or the highway. Just look at Venezuela also. They went in there, took a sovereign leader by a special forces operation forcefully. And, Trump started this operation against Iran without seeking, authorization from Congress. And then, you had Stephen Miller say the U.S. is a superpower, so we should be moving like a superpower. How say ye unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of ancient kings? Where are they now? Where are thy wise men? And let them tell thee now, and let them know what Yahweh of hosts hath purposed upon Egypt to break this place down. economically, militarily, and morally, which all these things are leading to an economic collapse and America being destroyed by nuclear missiles during World War III. The princes of Zoan are become fools. The princes of Noph are deceived. They have also seduced Egypt, even they that are the stay of the tribes. Speaking of the 12 tribes of Israel, your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who are the true children of Israel. You've got all 12 tribes here. And as it said, they have also seduced Egypt. Look at Make America Great Again. MAGA. You had a lot of people vote for Trump because they thought that he was going to, provide on his message. But now you're having a lot of people having buyer's remorse and turning on Trump and MAGA because they're seeing that he's not doing anything he said he would do to help the country, and that it's just business as usual because he's a puppet for the elites, which they're playing in general is to liquidate America and bring about their NWO. Verse 14, Yahweh hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. And with this administration, it seems that everything they're doing, just puts America in a worse situation out here. Verse 15, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, white collar all the way down to blue collar, branch or rush may do. You've got an economic downturn with many businesses already laying off tens of thousands of workers. You've got AI and automation that's going to be a major threat to not just blue collar jobs, but white collar jobs as well. And then this situation going on over in the Middle East, which is already rising, gas prices, which if it persists, it's just going to further put a strain on everything and lead to more job losses and higher prices. So we can clearly see we are in the midst of biblical prophecy. So stay tuned. It's been a very exciting weekend going into this week, and it's just going to continue. On February 28th, you had a astronomical event where all the planets aligned. And then, on March 3rd, you had a blood moon. And we know that when the Lord shows wonders and signs in the heavens, he's about to make a major move. But before we get out of here, let's play this clip one more time.
I'm talking about Walmart, Target, Costco, Home Depot, anything retail. Just expect to spend your whole entire paycheck. And this is because the world's second largest shipping company, Maersk, suspended transit through the Strait of Hormuz because of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. Maersk is one of the world's largest integrated logistic companies, and while people often think that it's just an oil tanker or container ship operator, the company actually moves almost every single category of global trade goods. So this means if you go into these stores, make sure you only get what you need. This is not the time to buy useless shit, because if you do, you will go broke. You shop at...
So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you're sincere, Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.